So the Timcast IRL bombshell has finally dropped on Eliza Bleu, and this article actually does have a good bit of new information. But dude, trust me, this is a doozy. This is a really long article. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to cover the entire thing in this one video, and this is only part one of this story. So it's going to be a multi-part series, but we will be going very in-depth tonight on stream about this whole article. In this video, I'm going to be covering the best that I can, the entire thing, and kind of give you a summary, give you the highlights and the new information. Let's check it out. So in the very beginning of the article, he's kind of just setting the scene for the whole situation, explaining that they already had something planned to do beforehand. He wasn't going to reveal it to the public, but then Eliza ended up revealing it to the public on her appearance on Timcast when they happened to be guests together. And then he starts off by revealing this conversation between Ye and Eliza, where Ye says, "Eliza, I got your number from Shane's laptop. Let's stop all P-word." I'm going to have to dance around a lot of words in this video because, I mean, you already know why I have to do it. I won't be dancing around words on stream tonight, so if you want to get the full breakdown, make sure you tune into our stream later on today. All P-word and sex-teeing, trafficking, you know, like in a car, starting with Twitter. Eliza says the actual freedom of all people is the most important fight. Yeah, ironic how she bans everyone off Twitter, but the freedom of all people is the most important fight. She'll die on the hill of freedom of speech. I'll try not to give my commentary as much as possible because there is a ton to get through in this video. No public stunt, by the way, and I'm not going to ask for funding or anything. I do everything on my own with an old-ass iPhone and God. It was discussed on Timcast IRL that I would write a profile on her. I agreed to it, she shared it publicly, and now those that reject her story are using those posts as retroactive proof that I should not be taken seriously. That's stuff that we already know. He's just kind of setting the scene. So it does add a little bit of fluff in there, but like I said, there is a lot of good new information. There's a small collection of some criticism that I have received as I prepared to profile Eliza. This is a litmus test for Shane Cashman. He is a knob-gobbling fluffer. The internet is watching. Shane is a clown. He's a fluffer boy. We get it, you know, and he also understands it. He understands where it's coming from. He doesn't think that it's right, that he should be getting called all these things. We should give him the benefit of the doubt and all this stuff. And I somewhat agree with him. You know, we should have waited until the article came out to call him all of those things. We'll see how the rest of this series plays out, and if they go harder on Eliza as this goes on, or if they get easier and easier on her as less and less people are watching the situation. Fair enough. I'd like to say this. I seek to tell in-depth stories to the best of my ability. I have many of the same questions you might have and more, and I report at the pace that suits the answers I collect. By the night that Eliza and I were both on IRL, I had also been in talks with Andrew Tate to write a profile on him. I had spoken with him directly in the days leading up to his arrest in Romania. For those that don't know, he had been accused of human T-word. Perhaps saying this to you now will kill the potential for that story, which I'd like to still write, but it's important for me to say that I would afford Tate the same amount of patience and grace to tell his story as I would Eliza Bleu. After the thread about Eliza's life went viral, her timeline didn't make sense to me either. Talking about Shane Cashman himself, there seems to be major gaps in her story. I'm sure I wasn't alone in having this nightmarish thought experiment. On one hand, I would have preferred she was lying from the bits of her own story that she shared. I'd rather not want that to happen to anyone. On the other hand, if she was lying, I'd feel personally let down. I don't believe she should erase the advocacy I've seen her do on Twitter and in podcasts, but it would make it extremely challenging to take her seriously moving forward. Even as I personally struggle with who does and doesn't deserve redemption, if she profited off victims, it would be dirty. If she was exposed as merely a fame whore, I wouldn't be surprised. No real insult to Eliza, but the internet is filled with them, so another joining the ranks wouldn't be the slightest bit shocking. So now we're going to skip to a conversation that Shane Cashman and Eliza Bleu actually had directly with each other in person. I thought this was extremely interesting and one of the bits of new information that I was talking about that really stood out to me in this article. So Eliza picked me up in her father's car and we drove to the world's largest truck stop, Iowa 80, a 24 truck utopia. Oh, good choice of words there, utopia. Those that understand, let me know in the comments if you understand why I think that's a good choice of words. With a restaurant and a bottomless supply of cowboy hats. She seemed oddly positive. She wore a heavy black Tesla winter coat. Why do I feel like this guy is actually kind of good at telling stories, dude? I feel like I'm reading a book right now, like a fiction novel. Really, I thought of all coats this woman could wear of all days, she chose a Tesla coat. It was 7 degrees and she said it was her one and only warm coat. I later asked how she got it. All of my Tesla gear was given to me by a friend. He worked at Tesla. Wonder who that is. We have known each other for 2 years before all this happened. My old winter coat was finished. I pulled out the Tesla coat this year because it's what I have. She was looking at her phone, reading an email. The Babylon Bee had notified her that they canceled an event they had planned to do together. It's heartbreaking, she said. I needed my Christian brothers. I'm so pissed that they would cancel. She had a slightly darker tone in her voice than she had since the last time we spoke. Well, I guess I'm the guy that talks to people the rest of society rejects. In a sense, that's you right now on Twitter. There was mostly small talk for the way to get food. We discussed her childhood, her being homeschooled, and how she and her family, including her younger sister, had moved to Quad Cities, to Denver and back. As we took our seats at the truck stop diner, I was alerted by colleagues via text that some people have announced her father's personal address, both home and office, and were claiming to be on their way to film the location. I was going to be staying at her parents' house for the duration of my visit. Are you reading Twitter? I asked, referring to the barrage of comments about her life, all the images, everyone who'd done anything with her, been getting tagged and everything too. Friends are telling me that my silence makes everything worse, she said. Right now, people don't want to hear anything from me. There's literally nothing I could say. What could I say? Nothing I do will appease everybody. I can't be too mean. I can't be too nice. So many people have their minds made up. That's true, I said, wondering how the F I was supposed to navigate this story. I was hesitant to even ask her about all this. I would either be exposing her total lie, or perhaps I would be making her relive some deeply troubling trauma. The waitress brought over our waters and our meals, and I said we better start with the questions. I asked her how she defined human teeing, forced fraud or coercion in the sale labor of sex. Anyone under the age of 18 engaging in commercial activity for goods and services is a victim of human teeing. She rattled off quickly. Under 18, she said, is automatically a victim of human teeing if they're engaging in commercial sex. There's nothing, no gray area. No question, no gray area. How did the teeing start with you? I met him when I was about 15. Where? A concert out here. Who was he? A photographer. Can you name him? I can't. Why? Legal reasons. We're going to come back to that. I said I knew she wasn't going to name names. She said to me as much on Timcast IRL, and I insisted multiple times that naming names would be one of the best ways to clear her own. It's true. If you just name names, a lot of these questions disappear. It would allow me and other journalists to do more digging into the story. The lack of a name, the lack of transparency doesn't help, but if she says there are legal reasons for that, for now, it's the best I can get out of her. Why did you leave for LA? I asked. Once I had my permit, I was out of here, she said, which is funny because all I want to do now is stay here. Was this a relationship with the older guy? He groomed me. Grooming how? Finding out my vulnerabilities. What would make me leave my family and come out to LA? He knew exactly what to say. I was probably the easiest mark they ever had. Was he talking sexually with you as well? No, it was all about the dream world, the opportunities, which were promises of a modeling career, rock star stuff. And how old were you? 15 when I met him, 17 when I moved to LA, she said. He knows your age at that point, like from the beginning? Yes. How did you pull that shit? I asked. I would never let that happen, I said, thinking of my children. Were your parents under some type of spell from this person? It sounds like they had no reason to believe that this was going to be a legit opportunity for their daughter. Her mom would later tell me that, at the time, Eliza would be turning 18 soon as well. There would be no stopping her. How did you get to LA? I asked. My dad moved me out there. She could probably tell, but I was watching for any body language and eye movement that would seem like she's conjuring up fiction. I had a plan to make her ask the same question repeatedly over the next few days to see if any of her details didn't match, not only from what she told me, but from what she said in other platforms. Eliza said she moved to LA when she was 17. Her parents set her up with an apartment, and within 2 days, she said she was trafficked. This is where I guess I get some of the story messed up, I said. Is there a switch in the guy at this moment? The photography introduces me to the musician, she said. I asked her again for names, but she refused. We get into this specific discussion later, but I wanted to establish her side of what happened in LA first. Are the photographer and the musician together, like physically? I mean, are they a team? Do you think I know that? She said with some hostility. I don't know, that's why I'm asking. How soon after moving to LA is this happening? Immediately, within a few days, 48 hours. She said she recognized the musician the moment she met him. I suppose I made a surprise face. This is West Hollywood we're talking about, she said. I had just been to West Hollywood, and it seemed like the kind of city where dreams and nightmares coexist so tightly, it's kind of hard to distinguish one from the other. I went to the musician's place. I don't remember if he came and picked me up, but I'm sure he probably did. We went over there, hanging out, had some beer. That's when everything went downhill. He handed me something to smoke, and I smoked it. They called it ice or glass. I think it was something like, I'm not saying that word either. Do you remember what you were thinking at the moment? My dreams were coming true. Jesus Christ. Did you not feel any sense of dread being away from your family, being with these people? I was in the dream world, she said. Yeah, smoking meth. Up to that point, I didn't even know that evil was a thing that happened. All right, dude, 18 years old and you don't understand that evil was a thing? I don't know, man. I don't know about this story. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking so far. You didn't learn about evil from church, I asked. I understood that her father went to seminary school in Denver and that religion was important to the family. I did not understand what evil was until LA, she said. Was that your first relationship? No. Was he violent? He wasn't violent, but I'm kind of grateful that I was drinking and on drugs because at the time I was really thin because I was modeling, so I didn't have any meat on my bones. A little alcohol really messed me up. And one day he basically told me, I'm going to sell you for drugs. I was in the room when he brokered the deal. He called the guy. I don't know if it was all planned out in advance or whatever. I don't know. I'm assuming that this is a thing that they did. You consider this a relationship? I probably would have thought of that, but I wasn't used to having male relationships, not like that. Did sex come into place before all this? It was clear there was no choice, she said. The thing is like this. I hadn't come from that wasn't a part of my lifestyle. When he called the buyer, Were you thinking anything like, what the F is this phone call? I was just told that we needed more drugs, so we're going to sell you. And I was like, holy shit, I'm a child, P word. I was embarrassed. I feel like Ben Shapiro right now. I knew immediately I would never tell anyone about this. The musician dropped her off at the house in West Hollywood Hills. Can you describe this man, the buyer? Old, fat, ugly guy, sorry. I thought she called him really ugly. I could probably recreate pieces of his room. It's weird what your brain remembers. His bed was red, but not blood red. It had a red blanket and it was a really nice place. And there were multiple people living there. Were they there for you too? Not for me. They came and went. Lots of drugs and alcohol. How long were you there? I can't say. Maybe days, a week. Were you on drugs? Yes. Thank God it was not a pleasant experience. How did you get back home? My parents bought a plane ticket. Somehow they knew. She doesn't know anything else about it. She doesn't know. So her parents just randomly bought a plane ticket and they just happened to know. Dude, this stuff blows my mind that there's just gaps in the story like this. She doesn't even try to clear it up. Like, she has to know that saying stuff like that is going to make people a little bit more suspicious. But anyway, I'm trying to keep my own opinions out of this because it's just so much to get through. I'm definitely not going to be able to get through the entire thing, but I'll get through a few more lines of this. And then, like I said, later tonight, we'll break down the entire thing. When my dad dropped me off in LA, I think I had blonde hair. And when I arrived back here, I had jet black hair. Everything I brought from home was in a trash bag. My parents didn't recognize me. The people that really hate you are demanding these details. I said in a way, I'm sorry for asking, but I didn't know what else to cover in this story. One must work with the primary source first and then unspool what you can from there. I can't reverse engineer it. It's like gore pee, Eliza said, referring to the gruesome details that there are saying that they need to hear from her to believe any trafficking took place. They're hitting me up wanting to know if my V is ripped. A part of me hopes you are lying because I don't want any of this to be true. She went back to recalling what she could of the overdose. Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there. I might do a part 2 if you really want to see me read through and react to this thing. I might do a part 2 of this video, but probably not. I think this is more of like a live stream thing, so I'm definitely going to do a stream as early as I can get people to come on the stream with me. So look out for that. It'll probably be around 5:30 Central Time, 6:30 Eastern. So look out for that. Let me know what you think of the article so far, and if you read through the whole thing yourself, let me know what you think about the entirety of it. I think it's somewhat of a fluff piece. I respect Shane Cashman for actually putting a conversation that he had with Eliza Bleu, trying to dig into it. But like I said, man, we got to wait to see what part 2, part 3, part 4, however many parts they're going to have with this. We got to wait and see how much they dig and how hard they are on Eliza. Let me know what you think about the whole thing. If you did enjoy it, leave a like, all that good stuff. And I hope to see you on the next one.